Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are revising infectious diseases, non-infectious diseases and immune system. Basically, how tiny microorganisms create huge problems and how your body fights back like a superhero team. We'll look at pathogens, how disease spread, how immunity works and also diseases like cancer and allergies. By the end of this review, you should feel much more confident. Biology can feel like a lot, but today we'll make it simple, clear, and hopefully a little fun too. An infectious disease happens when a pathogen passes from one organism to another and disrupts homeostasis. Homeostasis means keeping the body stable and balanced. Pathogens disturb that balance. The five main types of bacteria: viruses, protozoa, fungi, and parasites. Bacteria are living cells. Viruses are smaller and invade body cells to reproduce protozoa. Protozoa can cause disease like malaria. Fungi infect skin or tissues, and parasites live in or on another organisms. Tiny organisms but very powerful. Biology teaches us something important here. Size definitely doesn't decide strength. Before infecting humans, pathogens need somewhere to live. That place is called as a reservoir. Humans are major reservoirs, especially carriers. People who feel healthy but can still spread disease. Animals can also act as reservoirs. Rabies and influenza are good examples. Pathogens may also survive in soil, water or food. That means disease doesn't just come from sick people. Sometimes it comes from the environment around us. So when scientists study outbreaks, they first ask, where is the pathogen hiding? Because finding the source helps stop the spread of disease. This slide helps us to visualize reservoirs and transmission. Pathogens may move from animals to humans, contaminated food to humans, or surface to humans. The important idea is that pathogens follow pathways. Once we understand the pathway, prevention becomes easier. Clean water, washing hands, proper food safety and hygiene all matters. Prevention is actually the body's best friend because honestly, if the pathogen never enters the body, the immune system gets a peaceful day off. These three terms are very important. Endemic means a disease is regularly present in a population in small numbers. Epidemic means a sudden outbreak affecting many people in one region. Pandemic means the disease spreads across countries or continents. Easy trick: endemic is expected. Epidemic is larger and faster. Pandemic spreads worldwide. Scientists use these terms to understand how serious the spread is and decide how quickly action is needed. Meet the frontline soldiers of your immune system. This table breaks down the three major types of white blood cells, keeping you safe every single day. First up are neutrophils. Think of them as the rapid response team. They use a process called phagocytosis to literally hunt down and ingest invading bacteria. Next, we have macrophages. These are heavy-duty cleanup crews. Not only do they ingest bacteria, but they also clear out dead neutrophils and cellular debris left behind after a battle. Finally, lymphocytes handle specific immunity. They are the tactical geniuses that produce targeted antibodies and special chemicals to destroy precise pathogens. 3 cells, one ultimate defense system. Now let's meet one of the body's defense system, the lymphatic system. Its role is to filtering lymph and blood and destroying harmful microorganisms. Important organs include lymph nodes, tonsils, spleen, and thymus gland. Lymphocytes are produced in red bone marrow and help protect the body. Think of the lymph node like security checkpoint. Anything suspicious enters and immediately get questioned. The lymphatic system is constantly monitoring and protecting us even when we don't notice. Antibodies are proteins produced by B lymphocytes. Their job is to recognize specific antigens and bind to them. Antigens are foreign substances that trigger immune responses. B cells are often called antibody factories. Helper T cells activate B cells. Then B cells begin producing antibodies that match the pathogen exactly. These antibodies help destroy microorganisms and make immune responses stronger. It's very specific, almost like facial recognition technology, but biological and much smarter. Let's break down the essential vaccines that protect us from dangerous diseases every single day. First, the DPT vaccine targets 3 bacterial threats: diphtheria and tetanus using inactivated toxins, and pertussis or whooping cough using inactivated bacteria. Next, we have vaccines using inactivated viruses. The polio vaccine protects against poliomyelitis. The MMR vaccine covers measles, mumps, and rubella all in one shot. And the varicella vaccine shields us from chickenpox. Finally, we have engineered vaccines. The H1B vaccine fights hemophilia influenza type B using specific portions of bacterial cell, while the HBV vaccine targets hepatitis B using just a subunit of the virus. Different methods, one goal: total immune protection. Not all diseases are caused by pathogens. Non-infectious diseases cannot spread from person to person. These include genetic disorders, degenerative diseases, metabolic diseases, cancer, and inflammatory diseases. Genetic disorders are inherited. Degenerative diseases happen with wear and aging. Metabolic diseases affect chemical pathways. Cancer involves uncontrolled cell growth. Inflammatory diseases happen when immune system reacts in harmful way. Different causes, but all affect body system and health. This table is a very useful summary because it organizes the 5 categories of non-infectious diseases clearly. Genetic disorders are caused by inherited gene or chromosome changes, like sickle cell anemia or hemophilia. Degenerative diseases happen when body tissue wear down over time, like arthritis. Metabolic diseases affect chemical pathways such as PKU or type 2 diabetes. PKU stands for phenylketonuria. Cancer involves uncontrolled cell growth, and inflammatory diseases happen when the immune response becomes harmful. A good exam trick is to connect the diseases with its Coronary artery disease is a great example of a multifactional factorial condition. That means more than one factor contributes to it. In this disease, arteries supplying oxygen-rich blood to the heart become narrowed or blocked. Genetics can increase risk, especially if there is a family history, but lifestyle also matters. Diet, exercise, and overall habits all contribute. So, CAD reminds us that it is not always one simple cause. Genes matter, environment matters, and everyday choices matter too. Your heart works hard every day, so yes, it deserves some appreciation. An allergy happens when the immune system overreacts to a harmless substance. That substance is called an allergen. Common allergens include pollen, dust mites, animal dander, and certain foods. The immune system treats these harmless things like dangerous invaders and releases histamine. Histamine causes swelling, sneezing, itching, and watery eyes. In severe cases, it can lead to anaphylactic shock, where airways tighten and breathing becomes difficult. So, biologically speaking, the body sometimes sees harmless pollen and reacts like it's preparing for a battle. Robert Koch developed Koch postulate to prove that a specific microorganism causes a specific disease. First, the suspected pathogen must be founded in every infected host. Second, it must be grown in pure culture. Third, introducing it into a healthy host should cause the same disease. Fourth, the same pathogen must be isolated again. These steps were very important because they helped scientists connect disease with their exact causes. Koch basically turned disease investigation into careful scientific detective work. The current slide shows transmission of pathogens. There are 4 different ways how the pathogens transmit: direct contact, indirect contact, or through air, indirect contact by objects, and vectors. Vectors can be different types like mosquito, birds, humans, animals. This table gives examples of disease transmission. Direct contact include colds and infectious mononucleosis. Indirect contact includes airborne droplets or contaminated objects. Vectors include mosquitoes carrying malaria or ticks carrying Lyme disease. Notice that each type of transmission also has prevention method. Washing hands, cleaning surfaces, and controlling insect exposure all reduce spread. The good thing is many infections are preventable with simple habits. The current slide also reflects on type of transmission, mechanism or how it spreads, examples of diseases, and prevention. There are 3 different types of transmission as discussed earlier: direct contact, indirect contact, and vectors. The diseases caused by direct contact very important, using antibiotics incorrectly can lead to resistance. Resistant bacteria survive treatment and continue multiplying. Over time, they become much harder to control. It's like bacteria learning new survival tricks, and unfortunately, bacteria learn faster. When pathogens enter the body, symptoms begin because cells are damaged. Viruses may invade cells, reproduce, and cause cells to burst. Bacteria may release toxins. Damaged tissues trigger immune response. This causes fever, pain, inflammation, coughing, and fatigue. So symptoms are not random. They are signs that the body is fighting infection. Fevers help slow pathogen activity. Coughing helps remove irritants. Even though symptoms feel unpleasant, they are often part of the body's defense system. The body has non-specific defenses that respond quickly to any pathogen. These include cellular defense, interferon, and inflammatory response. Phagocytes surround and digest pathogens through phagocytosis. Complement proteins help phagocyte work better. Virus-infected cells release interferons, which warns nearby cells and help prevent viral replication. Inflammation increases blood flow and allows white blood cells to reach the infected area faster. These defenses are fast and broad. They do not ask who the pathogen is first. They respond immediately. First line of defense, no appointment needed. Look at how your body physically destroys invading pathogens. Complement protein from your blood plasma target a foreign cell and bands together. They lock right into its plasma membrane, forming a massive open pore or channel. With this sudden defensive breach, extra fluid rapidly rushes straight inside the cell. The intense internal pressure builds instantly until the entire pathogen bursts open and is completely destroyed. That is microscopic warfare in action. Take a closer look at the differences here. Non-specific defenses are present from birth and begin working immediately. They include skin, stomach acid, mucus, and white blood cells like macrophages. Specific immunity develops after exposure to pathogen. It depends mainly on B cells, T cells, and antibodies. The amazing part is how the system works together. The fast defense slows the pathogen first. Then the targeted defense arrives with a very specific response. Again, teamwork is important. One group buys time and the other finishes the job. The immune response begins when pathogens break through physical barriers. Cells such as macrophages and dendritic cells respond first. These cells engulf pathogen and digest them. Then they rapidly display pieces of the pathogen, called antigens, on their cell surfaces. This process is called as antigen presentation. It is extremely important because now the immune system can identify exactly what entered the body. Think of the macrophage like a security officer holding up a photo and saying, "Attention everyone, this is the intruder we are looking for." That starts the next stage of immunity. Helper T cells are very important because they coordinate the immune response. They recognize antigen presented by macrophages binds to the antigen, it becomes activated. Then it reproduces rapidly and releases signaling proteins called cytokines. These cytokines help activate many other immune cells. So helper T cells are often called commanders of specific immunity. They do not directly destroy pathogens, but they organize the entire response. Without helper T cells, the immune system becomes much weaker because the instructions stop. Now, the helper T cells communicate with B cells. A B cell recognizes the same antigen and receives activation signals for helper T cell. Once activated, B cell reproduce and become plasma cells. Plasma cells produce huge number of antibodies. These antibodies attach specifically to the antigen and help destroy the pathogen. They may neutralize toxins or make pathogens easier for phagocytes to destroy. It's very organized. B cells wait for confirmation, receive instruction, and then begin full antibody production. Once activated, they work like powerful biological factories. Helper T cells also activate cytotoxic T cells, sometimes called as killer T cells. Their role is different from B cells. Instead of producing antibodies, they directly destroy infected body cells. This is especially important during viral infection. Viruses hide inside body cells, so antibodies may not reach them easily. Cytotoxic T cells identify infected cells, bind to them, and trigger cells death. This prevents the virus from reproducing further. It may sound harsh, but sacrificing infected cells protects the entire body. Biology can be tough, but very efficient. This slide explains passive and active immunity. Passive immunity happens when ready-made antibodies are transferred into the body from another source. Examples include antibodies from mother to baby or injections after exposure. It works quickly, but protection is temporary. Active immunity happens when your own immune system responds to an antigen and produces antibodies plus memory cells. This can happen naturally after infecting or through vaccination. Passive immunity borrows protection. Active immunity builds protection. Borrowed protection helps immediately, but building your own lasts much longer. HIV/AIDS specifically targets helper T cells called CD4 cells. This is very dangerous because helper T cells coordinate the immune response. HIV enters the cells and uses them to produce more virus particles. The infected cells are damaged and destroyed. Over the time, the number of helper T cells drop. That weakens the immune system more and more. The body becomes vulnerable to infections that normally would not be serious. HIV is dangerous not because of one infection, but because it damages the body's entire immune coordination system. Not all diseases are caused from germs. Let's look at non-infectious categories. First, genetic disorders like sickle cell anemia come from inherited gene errors. Next, degenerative diseases like osteoarthritis happen as a body tissue wear out over time. Metabolic diseases include type 2 diabetes involving broken biochemical pathways, while cancer is driven by abnormal, uncontrolled cell growth. Finally, inflammatory diseases like allergies occur when the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy tissues. Different causes, one massive health impact. Cancer happens when body cells begin dividing uncontrollably. Normally, cell grows, divides and stops when needed. Cancer cells ignore these controls. They continue dividing and may form tumors. Some cancer cells spread to other parts of the body. That process is called metastasis. Cancer can affect almost any tissue, including blood cells. Both genetics and environmental factors can contribute. Exposure to harmful chemical, radiation, smoking, and inherited mutation all increase risk. Normal cells follow instructions. Cancer cells stop listening, and that creates serious problem for the body. Autoimmune diseases occur when the body defense system mistakenly turns against its own healthy tissues. In rheumatoid arthritis, antibodies attack the joints, causing inflammation, pain, structural damage, and deformities such as knobby fingers. In rheumatic fever, usually following a streptococcal infection, antibodies target the heart walls, leading to leakage or improper closure. In lupus, autoantibodies attack multiple organs throughout the body, including skin, kidneys, and joints, making it a systemic and serious condition. Together, these conditions show how misdirected immunity can damage the body instead of protecting it. The provided text details several bacterial pathogens that have developed significant resistance to standard antibiotic treatment, complicating medical care across various environments. Gonorrhea, once highly responsive to penicillin, most strains are now completely resistant, forcing the development of entirely new drug therapies. Staphylococcus disease. Strains of Staphylococci are increasingly resistant to multiple antibiotics. This is highly problematic in high-density living conditions, leading to difficult to treat skin infection, pneumonia, and meningitis. MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, a specific type of multi-drug resistant bacteria notorious for causing dangerous infections within hospitals and healthcare facilities. Respiratory pathogens. Streptococcus pneumonia has developed resistance to standard antibiotics, complicating treatment for pneumonia, sinus infection, and systemic bloodstream infection. Tuberculosis. The bacterium causing this severe respiratory disease can be highly resistant to initial frontline antibiotic typically used for treatment. The given graph shows the growth of antibiotic resistance from 1980 up to 1990. Passive immunity provides immediate temporary protection by introducing pre-made antibodies naturally via placenta or breast milk, or clinically to treat venom, rabies, or hepatitis. Active immunity offers long-lasting defense by exposing the body to antigens naturally or via vaccine. Stimulating memory cells, booster shots extend this protection over the time. An inflammatory pathogens and enhance immunity. Conversely, an inflammatory disease is an unhelpful pathological state where the body mounts an abnormal or misplaced reaction to common substances, manifesting as conditions like allergies and autoimmunity. Alright, that brings us to the end of our comprehensive immune system revision. Let's take a quick breath and look at how far we have come today. We started by looking at our body's frontline defense and the massive challenges of antibiotic resistance in superbugs like MRSA and gonorrhea. Then we mastered the difference between passive immunity, that quick temporary shield from the pre-made antibodies, and active immunity, where your body builds its own long-lasting memory cells through exposure or vaccine. Finally, we clarified a crucial distinction: the differences between helpful inflammatory response fighting off an infection versus an unhelpful inflammatory disease like allergies or autoimmunity, where the system misfires. You have all the facts and the core concepts right here. The immune system is complex, but you have broken it down step by step. Trust your preparation, review your summary notes one last time, and get good sleep before the exam. Thank you for your hard work today. You have got this, and I wish you all absolute best of luck